Yes, Chair. From Councillor Con Watling, who's off Ireland, Dave Logan, whose daughter's been taken to hospital today, Brian Lucas, who is injured himself, and that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Any declarations of interest regarding anything on tonight's agenda, councillors?
No.
No. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, to item number 3, Ventnor West Town Council co-option. As councillors will already know, the background to this is that Councillor Lee Geddes resigned from her role on the 10th of September 2019. She resigned via email to me, copied to the clerk, and I responded that it was I certainly, and I'm sure the council were very sorry to see Lee go. She's been a staunch and very able member of the council for longer than me, and longer than some of us around this table, but her reasons were absolutely understandable and justifiable. So, and I'm sure we wish Lee all best of luck going forward, and that her family are okay. The vacancy was notified to Clive Joins, he might be electrical, I don't know, the elections officer on 10th, and the notice of vacancy was published the following day, the 11th, providing invitation to 10 residents of the ward to notify the elections officer by the 1st of October that they wish for an election to be held. That, of course, did not happen, as was evident in the response to the Clive Joins. Although the Town Council has normally advertised an opportunity to express an interest in co-option when a vacancy has not been filled by election, it is not legally obliged to do so. The National Association of Local Councils legal advice about co-option states, before exercising the power of co-option, the Council does not have to give public notice of a vacancy or vacancies, although it may do so if it wishes. Paragraph 2, co-option. As a Town Council for Ventnor West Ward from 2010 to February this year, and a resident who continued his work with the Town Council's buildings as a volunteer since then, James Toogood is well placed to express an interest in rejoining the Council, which he has done. The Town Council is asked to accept that expression of interest. Therefore, the recommendation is that this Town Council agrees to co-opt James Toogood to the vacancy in Ventnor West created by the resignation of Lee Geddes, and I so move. Councillors, anything to add?
No. I've been welcome back.
Oh, he's not been co-opted yet. Got the gun, didn't he?
You did.
I need a second. We'll move to a seconder then. Thank you. Councillor Jason Mack. All those in favour, please show. That is unanimous. Councillor Toogood, would you like to come to the table?
Oh, thank you very much.
Welcome back, James.
Well, thank you for having me back. Thank you very much, Chairman.
That was painless.
That's on the outfits.
Thank you very much, and good to see you back.
No, thank you.
Not that you've never really been away.
No, thank you
Good
very
to
much.
see you back. Your wee ghost has been
Very kind of you.
roaming the corridors.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much indeed. Okay, to item 4 on the agenda, just let me get my paper, headed St Catherine's. It's a privilege to be addressed by members from St Catherine's, Linda and Amanda. If you'd like to come up, ladies, so that you can be in full view of our huge online audience this evening.
Can we bring the chair up, or could you
Sorry, can you move around?
Okay,
taking out? No. Right, thank you.
that's lovely, thank you. And we just, Morgan, you just confirmed that the ladies can be seen online. Well, yeah, that's lovely. You're more than welcome to stay after your presentation, or you can, if you find it riveting what's going on here at Town Council, more than happy to stay. Otherwise, when you finish, and hopefully you'll take some questions if there are any from members. Please, the floor is yours.
So thank you very much for having us here tonight. Just to introduce myself, I'm Amanda Ellison, and I'm the acting principal at St Catherine's, and this is Linda Lemonius, who's our projects manager. So I don't know how much you know already about St Catherine's School. Are you fairly knowledgeable? Yeah, non-maintained, special school, and our students currently range between the age of 7 to 19, and their primary need are obviously speech and language communication needs. And we just thought we'd really come and share, because you can see from some of the work that's been going on that on St Boniface Road, the changes to that building. And we wanted really to develop and grow as a school, and we've now started a lease up there. I'd probably pass over to Linda to say a bit more about what we've actually done up there. Is that?
Yeah, we invited Tony and David along to come and have a look round. We're doing it in phases, so it's a building that's been empty for a couple of years, so it started to get a little bit tired. So we've got the painters in, so we're giving it a good lick of paint, and so we decided to do it in phases. So we've done phase 1, which includes a training room, which has got a little smart board and interactive. So in the first instance, we're going to be probably using it for the teachers and meetings for the school. But we are going to be open for the community to come along and use it. As a reception area, we're probably not going to have anybody on reception probably early next year, because we're still, what we want to do at the moment is get the building safe. We've had all the fire people in and all the electrical, and we're still working on the heating, and so there's all those bits that getting a building nice and tidy, really, just to be safe for people to come and use it. So that's the first part, and we're coming on quite a long way with the decorating, and it was good to chat to Tony and David about what you're doing here, and we spoke about the allotments, and I understand we might be able to have an allotment in the next phase, so that's quite exciting, because that's on, I think, the school of curriculum for next year's horticulture. So we're quite excited about that. We've met with Ventnor Sheds, and they're more than happy to help build a raised bed and do those bits and pieces with us. So it's about linking in the college with the community, and the older students are obviously going to the Isle of Wight College, and then starting on their adult journey around, really to look at possibly bricklaying or horticulture or whatever they want to go into in their older years. So really it's about adapting things, what we can work with the college and students up there, really. So it's still in very early stages of what exactly it will be used for. We want to do occupational therapy outreach, support education with schools, and helping parents and carers.
Parents especially. I think sometimes parents get the diagnosis that their child may be on autistic spectrum. They get the letter through the post, and then that's it, and we have a wealth of experience at the school, so we want to be able to offer, parents groups and training and those sort of opportunities, and now we've got the facilities that can enable that to happen. And we're also aware that we've got the large hall space up there, which somebody said was previously used for like dances and everything, and we're not adverse to that still being used as a community resource, because that's what we're about. We know how much the community value us, but we value the community that we're in. Our students, it wouldn't be the school that it is if we didn't have the local town and the people around us, who sometimes you see our students and they're from St Catherine's, and that's really important to us. We had visions possibly of like a little cafe there that we might run one morning a week with things the children have cooked, but we don't know really quite what. There's lots of opportunities, and the sort of, when we'll see where the need is and then deliver to that, but it will probably evolve naturally. We don't want to be constrained to saying this is what we're going to do at all costs and force something through. That often doesn't work. Sort of a more dynamic approach that you're changing with what the need is. But it's quite exciting. We're excited, and we just wanted to share with you what it was about. Wondered if there's any questions. We may not be able to answer them all at this point in time, because it's still embryonic, an early stage.
So maybe come in 6 months' time again, just to say
Yeah.
where we're
Yeah,
up to, or
absolutely.
definitely keep David in the loop.
Sure. Thank you for that, Linda. Well, speaking for myself, I'm over the moon about the developments at the school. Both my children went there to primary school when Sam Garraway was the head teacher, and I also had connections with St Catherine said when Gregor Shipley was the headmaster. It seems ages ago now.
It does.
His son and my son played in the same football team at school.
Yeah.
So I always had that connection. And you talked about the hall at St Boniface. Well, that was actually every year they had a Christmas show on there, which the children did in fancy dress, and of course it was the centre for the school meals as well. And also, you probably do know this, but if you didn't, you're about to. There was even a swimming pool in the grounds of the school there, just through the main gates there to the left there, and they filled it in and turned it into part of the car park, and then shut the school not long after. So that was really great forethought. So I'm speaking with members will speak for themselves, but I think I congratulate you what you're doing up there. I think is a great initiative, and you talk about your pupils being integrated into local community, and I noticed that in a previous incarnation I was chair of the local British Legion. And some of your kids used to come down to watch football, like tonight when England's playing, for example.
They still do go to
the
Legion, yeah.
And they have a pack of crisps and a Coke, nothing stronger, I hasten to add. And they love it up there, and we as a club love having them there. So it's all, it's all grist to the mill, isn't it? It's a great initiative, and I wish you real luck going forward. And thank you for what you've done with us as a town council in partnership with you've mentioned Ventnor sheds and the field and the allotments and everything else. So it's just proof that working as a community together we can get things done and move things forward. So it's great. Members,
Mr. Mayor, I noticed you said bricklaying. Move on to bricklaying. Some of the pupils that they move to school. My trade's a bricklayer. If anyone had a crack at it before they move on, but no doubt we could set something up somewhere. And I'm definitely willing to show them a bit if I can, really, because it's quite easy. Got so much land out there. We have over the other side.
Yeah.
You could turn up a few corners, and we could just, if I could get lads learning to fill in, I'll be able to happy to do that. But give them an insight which way you want to move forward on.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
I'll keep her. I'm very happy with that.
Might get your name.
Yeah,
but I'm sure we
yeah,
can-
two minutes,
yes,
yeah. And you say with plastering, that's my trade as well. Is, if I could help, I'm willing to do so.
Oh, that's
Really,
fabulous.
really,
Yeah,
so.
yeah. And Becky, who's the vocational coordinator, she sort of links in with all those bits and pieces,
Yeah,
and we were going to cordon off an area at the back for her, so she could actually have one of the back sheds. And I think it has one of those canopy that comes out, so if it's hot, quite hot there in the summer actually in the back. I think she was going to set something up there. So
I'm not counting for business, but I'm going to do But I'd be really to spend half a day there and several the pupils if they're really that stage to think that sort of thing.
A big thing actually, which is really interesting, is what we're trying to also develop in the school is some more practical careers advice, because often a big thing with Ofsted, but also with other agendas in education, is the meaningfulness of why you're coming to school. And that's a key thing. Are students sat doing pages of numbers, or does it, what does this relate to? And what we are trying to do is get speakers in from the different trades. And we had somebody in for the lifeboats, and we kind of almost want, a hairdresser, a bricklayer, somebody to come in and say, this is what my job involves. If a midwife comes in, they're going to say this involves shift work. So if you're not, if you like your sleep, this isn't for you. And another person will come in and say this is a very manual job. And that's another sort of opportunity to make networks. Yeah, just like to come in for an hour.
No problem.
Because some of our guys, they don't all often. I mean, so many of them just want to be professional YouTubers. That's what they want. Footballers or professional YouTubers, they don't see what other jobs are out there, and that's what we're trying to open up. Why the meaning of education, where it can lead to, and then they have that intrinsic buy-in to wanting to learn, not just to get a piece of paper or just to get through the school day, but actually I'm going to become this is my vision. But they've got to have those role models, haven't they, of people out there. We've got one lad who really wants to go into the army, and he's really turned around, he's really motivated now. So if we can find other niches that the students want to follow. So that's another lovely thing, that's
that's great.
Yeah.
Although just a word of warning that if you do invite Jim along, you probably have to 10 minutes presentation. But on a serious note, you mentioned about the students and some maybe want to go to the army or do other things. How do you follow that up once they've left you? Is there any feedback you get?
Yes, Susan Graves, who's our marketing and fundraising manager, she has a questionnaire, and so we try to keep in touch. And we had actually a student that left who was residential, who's now gone back to their home country, and he's now working in his family's restaurant, and we got a lovely sort of case study information just filling us in, and we kept that in our file of ex-students. And what's also lovely is they come back to the summer fairs. So that's another time when they look on our website and everyone's like, oh, there's so-and-so, do you remember them? Look how well they've done. So, and parents as well email us, because they've got fond memories of everything that St Catherine's has offered and has done. So, we do try and chase that up to have that information that they've gone on to meaningful employment or gone on to further study to evidence what we've achieved really, and what the students have achieved.
That's interesting.
Do you have friends at St Catherine's?
We're looking at opening up we were thinking like a PTA, sort of Parent Teachers Association. We're looking at starting one of those just after October half term. We haven't got a friends. We've sort of got an alumni list, people that have worked and have come here. So we have a mailing list where we send a newsletter, but we haven't actually got a friends of
I think that might be valuable. I mean, my mother, who's long dead, was actually a teacher at St Catherine's during the war at the college. Right, and up at Whitwell, she has very happy memories of teaching there. But what I'm trying to say is, there's a lot of people in this town who do have those links.
Yes.
And I think you might find some.
Try and tap into
them. I'd like to do that, especially if it's new way that you're going.
Thank you. That's a really good idea.
I can volunteer.
Okay.
Was your first name on the?
No.
Thank you.
I'm an alias. Big bunny or something.
Anything else for the ladies?
No, just to say, exciting times. Very interesting that you're expanding the service in all different directions, as opposed to just a growth in numbers. It's a growth in scope as well. So
well, it's great to see the school staying as part of our educational network. It really is, because I've been in Ventnor 35 years, and it's, as I say, both my children went. So it's really great because through the years, until you became involved and showed interest and then took over, there were all sorts of stories and rumours and innuendo circling the town about it was going to be this, it was going to be that, it was going to be the next thing. So it's really great that it's being used for what it was. Its original purpose was there for.
And the community, that's what we see.
It's quite an iconic building, really. When you're sweeping down that hill into Ventnor, you've got the school on your right and you've got the fields on your left hand side, and it's all part of it. But I remember the Egg and Spoon race in the sack race. I won't tell you how I got on, but it's just great that it's continuing that tradition, and we wish you the very, very best of luck. And we as a town council will give you our full support, and if there's anything we can do for you, then please talk to the clerk and let us know.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies.
We will go off and have
I don't blame you.
Nice to meet you. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, members, minutes of the town council meeting the 9th of September. For approval, could I have a mover, please? Sorry, Stephen. Oh, I thought you were going to comment, no?
No. I was just wondering if I should be signing and I chaired this.
Yeah. Sure, the clerk will
Alison
send
will
it
see
to
as well when she's back.
Okay.
She's chief in charge of signatures.
I thought I'd get in quickly with the with proposing.
Yeah, okay. Well, David's proposed you can say it. Thank you. All those in favour to show. Thank you very much. And for information, on the planning committee meeting 17th September 2019. Thank you, members. Finance report, Pat.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Usual structure. Balance of the Town Council's funds at the end of September, £279,156. The accounts, both of them were successfully reconciled to the month end. Payments in September of £40,080, with 3,633 attributed towards the Salisbury Gardens. The pool list is attached as usual, and receipts during the month were encouraging total of 18,582, with 12,754 of that coming from Salisbury Gardens rates for the month. The list of payments and receipts against the preset budget for the first 6 months of the year is attached as usual, and you'll note the fact that I've now, for the second half of the year, excluded the unusual expenditure items in that they were for costs occurred in the previous financial year and don't relate directly to this year's budget. So I've now excluded them, and you're aware of what they are because I've reminded you. Payments in the period were 1,701 over budget, and receipts over the 6 months were 2,392 more than budget. More by luck than judgment, but still very reassuring.
I don't believe that. Okay. Any questions on the finance report? Okay. Can we take it that we're all agreed?
Yes.
Thank you very much. So we're going straight into the governance and accountability then.
Yes, Chair, this is for information only because it's a done job, but I'm required to inform you of its completion and to provide you with the finished document that's now been signed off by the auditors on the 23rd of September. I have to confess to an error in the document as submitted to the auditor. It's in my view and our internal auditor's view, a technical error. If I need a bit more explanation for those who don't understand how these things work, most of you will remember that when we claim a preset payment from the Isle of Wight Council, that they also make a grant which is passing on funds to town and parish councils according to their council tax base, and it diminishes each year, and it's now down to a very small amount, but it's still important. And because we have booked in the past, booked that in alongside and as part of the preset receipt, the auditors didn't like that and asked us to record it in the grants section of the report that we submit, and I omitted to do that. So my apologies to you. I've already apologised to them, but it does have absolutely no impact on the town council's financial position. It's merely, I say merely, it is putting income in one category rather than another. We've now got the notice on display and on the council's website as required by statute.
Okay. Thank you very much, David.
We don't need a recommendation for that. So.
No, we don't. I'll take that as read. And move on to information agenda index on multiple deprivation 2019, which makes my heart rather heavy reading through reports such as this. I think from members of the public watching online, if there are, I think it's just worth summarising this. The index of multiple deprivation, published on 26 September, is based on the collation of all relevant data on 7 aspects of life related to deprivation, referred to as domains, and these are income, employment, education, health, crime, living environment, and barriers to housing and services. Now, the latter, barriers to housing and services, is something that we maybe be talking about separately to this, so I'll leave that for the moment. These are then giving a weighting to provide an overall score, the index of multiple deprivation, and in addition to the 7 main domains, rankings are also included for income deprivation affecting children and income deprivation affecting older people. On the basis of the overall score, areas are then ranked from 1 to the total number of areas, with 1 being the most deprived. Rankings are also provided for each of the separate domains. The Ventnor rankings are there for everybody to see. The reading is not very good at all. Apart from Ventnor Central, the other most deprived areas on the island are those at Pan, which is I think Newport East as an electoral ward, and Ryde North East as the most. And Upper Ventnor is the 11th most deprived of them, compared to having been 15th in the 2015 rankings. So not good reading at all. The range is from Pan's 1,904 and 2,807 to Bembridge North at 28,167 and Cowes Castle West at 28,805. We're talking about a completely different demographic for these areas, of course, but that just shows you where we are in the rankings. And the Town Council is recommended to record its concern about the increasing deprivation of the town's central and upper Ventnor areas, and the trend revealed by the indices of multiple deprivation from 2007 to 2019, and to authorise the Mayor and Town Clerk to ask the relevant senior politicians and senior officers to respond to this concern by supporting the specifics of the Town Council's regeneration plans on an urgent partnership basis as set out in Appendix A to this report. Now, the regeneration plans are going out to public consultations starting next week, and I shall be chairing some of those meetings, and the other members will be available to discuss that. But I think, I think we'll agree around the table that this doesn't make for good reading. Members, any comments?
When do we expect a response from the White Council?
Well, we have to authorise the Mayor and the Clerk to make the representations on behalf of the Council. And obviously we do have a senior councillor with us who will be noting what we're saying as is usual in these circumstances, Jamie. So I think there'll be
I say that because it feels, Chair, that it's a problem now. It's not something to kick down the road.
No. But I think it was a problem in 2010. I think certainly when I came on Town Council, that was our main thrust of what we did. And I guess if you look at Appendix A, that is some of the work that we've addressed to try and stem the flow, as it were. I think these things, and as the Mayor has said about the domains, in a time of austerity that this country has been in all that time, since 2010, since the coalition government, let alone the Conservative government on its own, an austerity agenda is not going to reverse that or make it any better. So, as stated in Appendix A, we've listed there what we've thought and what within our remit and within our resources we can do. Certainly, as members would know, we've still got certainly the private agenda item tonight is a big section of that, looking at housing and a new community library facility. So yeah, maybe it is time that we do up the game, as it were, to the politicians and suggest where this needs to turn around.
Yeah.
I might note, Mr. Mayor, that that members might well be aware that some money was made available for Newport too, as you suggested. Pan is in one of these deprived areas, but there's been money for Pan to do that, and thus far we've seen no money for Ventnor, so we need to change that around.
Yeah, I don't know where right is going, but the bare facts of the matter is that because of, as you've just rightly said, Jason, the austerity programme coming down from central government, it's tied the hands of our local bureau, and we've had Stuart Hutchison here at one of our group meetings, explaining exactly, how constrained the Isle of Wight Council has been when it's come to its tenders. So my pride in this matter is that then, as a town council, really stepped up to the mark as far as our commitments to our public, and taken a lot of the burden away from the shoulders of the council. Sometimes kicking and screaming, it has to be said, but other times with working together. And one of the kicking and screaming ones, I think, is going to be the off agenda item about Ventnor Central later on. But if you take it from the top to the bottom, the town centre improvements and the Public Works Loan Board, the car park management, which we're still in discussion, but we seem to be having a continuing and constructive conversation with Isle of Wight Council over that. In fact, we are going to go ahead now with the toilets in the central car park, which I think will be a great benefit to us here in Ventnor and to our community. The youth centre is the one bone of contention which we'll talk about. Ventnor Haven, ongoing talks again, and we've had Stuart Hutchison over here and talked about Ventnor Haven, and there are developments as far as that's concerned. St Boniface Fields, talking again to the school and to the Ventnor Town Council, we've been very proactive in what's been happening there over the past few years. The things to look out for are the things like Ventnor Park now, which is a principal park and one of the, probably the jewel in Ventnor's crown. And it's going to be very interesting to see which part of the divide that the Isle of Wight Council falls on when it comes to deciding the future, the long-term future of Ventnor Park. So we have to keep a very wary eye on that indeed. And again, we're at the forefront of making suggestions about how we see that going forward into the future.
I'm just wondering whether we have actually approached our MP. I mean, this surely is a job for him, isn't it?
Yeah.
To come here to Ventnor, read this. Jason? Walk round up a Ventnor, have a look.
There is, and when Mr. Seeley came into office, he was very keen on Ventnor being striving forward under his stewardship. The railway situation was never going to work in the way it did, but yes, he has guaranteed some situation there with the Transport Minister and South West, keeping that within franchise, and that's good to see. But the continuation of the railway to Ventnor was never going to work, so that's fine. But it's a situation he always thought Ventnor was maybe somewhere for a new Tate or a new Turner. Why not? We've had in the press this week. There's a chap looking for a Museum of Street Arts. Then, he needs to come to Ventnor then, probably. We just need to find him a building to do so.
We've got Winter Gardens, or we had the Winter Gardens.
We've read a bit of stuff for the street art.
Well, we have, exactly. We have a phlegm, indeed, a well-renowned phlegm. So, yeah, I think we're ideally placed to do that. But I think that is still a conversation. And I think in talking to Clark and the Mayor about when we were having these talks with the Deputy Leader of the Isle of Wight Council and his officers, I think there is and talking about other property situations within the town. There is an understanding from the council, Isle of Wight Council, that we're not going to let these things go away. We still want the conversation, and there is still time for them to put their paper on the table, as it were. We can't do this alone, and the partnership working that we have done over the last few years needs to continue for the benefit of this area as much as the rest of the island. And we still need to make that case that Ventnor is still part of the island. We're not a road out of Sandown and Shankland on the regeneration.
But the tragedy is, of course, that these children are growing up. They're not getting proper education. They're living in appalling conditions. I see them when I'm driving around. I know what's going on.
Yeah, no, and certainly up in Ventnor, we certainly have, and I think if you look at one of those domains, the children in poverty section is very, very acute to up in Ventnor. And
teaching colleagues, on the front, they know.
Yeah.
Don't they?
And these things do make, and I hope, as I said, as I alluded to earlier, the programme that's going on in Newport, they will see that this is not just a case of rubbing out the red. This really needs partnership working with lots of agencies, and if that includes the town councils and the local authority, it also includes the health services and it includes the housing associations too. And it's very similar to programme we went through with the DLCG in 2012, the Our Place programme. It's about co-designing services and benefits for your area. It's probably gone off from where it is, but that probably needs to be reattached to where we're going. And I think that's always the focus we've had on that.
Absolutely. And whilst emphasising the fact, Jason, that we are an apolitical council in that respect, in other words, we're not a political council, although people know individual members believe and things like that. But the fact of the matter is we are affected by the national political and the county-wide political way things go. But I think we've proved that as the council, if we are given a task to do, or if we take on a task, that we are more than capable of fighting above our own weight and providing members of our electorate in our community with something they can be proud of. We're sitting on one of the big success stories here at Salisbury Gardens. So we can do it, and if it means the council, Isle of Wight Council, standing back and us taking over, then we're more than happy to take that slack up, but we need the resources to be able to do it. We can't do it out of our own local precept all the time, because there is a limit to what we can do. We cannot borrow the kind of money that we're talking about, for example, and one of our other agenda items, without really a big commitment as far as, and some would say, a commitment that a town council shouldn't really be taking on. But we're happy to do these things, and I'm sure Gary will take those back to County Hall, but we really need the resources to be able to do it ourselves at the Wight Council or not. But we can't take anything away from the fact that this is a dismal show, and it's not new. As you say, when you were Mayor, Jason, coming along, it was already in existence then. It'll probably be in existence in another 5 or 10 years, unfortunately. But we as a council need to be making people aware that if we can do something to help them, then we'll certainly do everything that we can within the constraints that we've under. So, Steve, sorry.
Yeah, well, what can I say that hasn't already been said? It does make very bleak reading, doesn't it? Particularly because it can't all be, we can't put all the blame on austerity, because, of course, the fall here is in comparison with other areas which are also undergoing the effects of austerity. So much of it is about the geography and the transport links and the very well documented problems with coastal towns. So absolutely, I mean, the area that, Ventnor as a whole does need special attention. And thanks very much to the clerk for producing a concrete document. It's not enough to complain. It's also you have to you have to make a way forward, and that's evidence in the appendix. So that's all.
Thank you very much. So,
I'll just say something before. I just wanted to stress, Mayor, if I can, that by and large, the support we need from the Isle of Wight Council is not about money. It's about assisting us with making these schemes deliverable. But specifically, that's down to car parks, and the other schemes were listed in Appendix A. What we're looking for, it's not large chunks of cash. If there is to be any cash, that in my view relates only to the item on the confidential agenda about the possibility of developing Ventnor Central. In all other cases, what's needed is a round table meeting with the decision makers soon, which gives the possibility to proceed, whereas at present we can't. So that, for example, consultations are starting on the town centre improvements next week, and we're not able to say, much to Councillor Macaulay's concern, whether we can or can't provide free car parking in the central car park. To take one example, now that decision could be made without waiting for another 6 months when it's too late. And it's that's why I've suggested in the recommendation that you and I had permission to approach politicians in your case and officers in mine to see whether between all of that we can get that kind of brought forward decision making. It's not about money. We're not begging yet.
Well, not yet. Well summarised, David. Absolutely right. And we have started that process along the way with the meetings with Stuart and with David and other officers.
Gary wants a word.
Sorry?
Gary wants a word.
Yes, sure. Just on that, so I don't know how aware of that you are, Gary, but we sort of we initiated these meetings probably a couple of months ago. So the dialogue has started, but as David has said, we're not asking you for bucketloads of money. What we're asking for is the willingness to cooperate, make the decision. Especially, I mean, the central car park issue is crucial to our forward thinking. We would argue, and we've made that plain to Stuart and to the leader of the council, Dave Stewart, as well. So, and of course, we very much like your support in that going forward.
Yeah, absolutely, Mr. Mayor. And I think I've said this several times before. If there's anything I can do, and certainly around this issue. If you need me to add any influence, I can. And my name on my signature on a bit of paper and try and facilitate those discussions, then I will do whatever I possibly can.
Well, that's really good to know, Gary, and said in the public domain. So, thank you very much for that commitment, and we really do appreciate that going forward. And I'm sure the clerk and myself will make the most of it.
Please do so.
Thank you very much indeed. Okay, so we move to the recommendation. I don't think there's any contention here. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Mack, seconder. Councillor Macaulay, and all those in favour. Thank you very much. Unanimous. Taking us neatly on to Ventnor Haven, one of our favourite subjects. And I think you can take this up, Jason, if you don't mind me.
Help me? Okay. Yeah. You probably covered that. That's and I think as well, Gary, we had this conversation a few months ago, and this is how we did get started down that route, talking to what might happen at the Haven, because obviously we worried that the contract with the Isle of Wight Council was due to end in March 2020, and we also had discussions with Sean about needing a new boat and how that was going to be covered. There was some conversation about a dredger company were interested in using the Haven. Maybe we thought as a sweetener to take in Ryde, but none of that seems to have come to fruition. And of course, as we've stated before, during Jim Toogood's time as a volunteer, very nicely came along as part of the community, and at the time was Assets and Services when it started, to have those conversations with Sean at Shooter Marine and Jeff Blake of Blake Fisheries. And we've looked at various ways about how that might change as time went on. If the Isle of Wight Council was looking to decrease its liability in that respect, so there was lots of conversations about how we could do that, and certainly some practical aspects put towards that. So we're looking at a new type of pumping. We're looking to do a new pontoon to do that, while also looking. And how this came about with the Royal Haskinen report on the Haven, which suggested we were doing as much as could be done in respect of how that Haven was built all that time ago. But it did suggest that the proper things were happening. Things have moved on since then. Cheetham Marine now has a 2-year extension to that contract. And actually, I think this is probably something we were talking about, that we're coming up against brick walls and not getting anything. We're talking about it, but we're not getting any further forward. So that's a relief that there is, if you like, there's a 2-year annulment to the contract, as in not an annulment, as in it carrying on. But we do understand, as suggested, that there is the budget implications for the Isle of Wight Council. So as to that, we do want to look at that in a wider aspect and see whether there is a situation where the town council and the 2 businesses that operate in the Haven and the Isle of Wight Council, because there will still be a statutory duty on certain situations down there. Because what we did find out through this process, that it's a statutory port. Now, how the Haven has become a statutory port, we're not quite sure. Yes, indeed you did. Indeed you did. And it was confirmed at one of those meetings. So that in itself causes certain issues, because you've got to talk to the maritime organisation. And as we understand, and probably why there is some delay at Newport Harbour, they're very, very slow on coming up and changing what requirements are needed. So we hopefully continue those discussions and look at this sort of local stakeholder group, and by the time the 2 years is up, maybe we can come to some type of solution, and how that might happen. There is still, as well, there are still sort of murmurs about there might be some DEFRA funding out there for new rock armour, which might, I'm not suggesting that we have a marina on the scale of Monaco, but there might be something that can happen there. Rib use is quite current and is probably a good income generator. Maybe the seas are still a bit too much for a yacht haven, but so we take those forward, and hopefully we have your backing to continue to do so.
Thank you, Jason. Members, Tim, do you have anything?
Not at this stage, no.
Okay.
Does the extension of the contract, does that resolve their ability to actually do the seaweed clearance job without any extra expenditure within the 2-year period?
We don't know the details of that settlement, but Sean Stebbins is unlikely to have entered into it if he didn't feel the life of the equipment could be extended at least that long. But it's not a long-term solution.
No. That would, I think, as far as that would do, is in effect it would affect a refurbishment of the current equipment. So it will be a patch situation for this time. And again, talking when Stuart Hutchinson was here, there was, in that respect, there was some nod towards maybe capital cost of a new solution being taken over by that stakeholder group. So again, the nods are in the right direction.
I think the fact that we were quite vehement in our assertion that our community would not put up with another round of, we can all remember the acrid smells coming up from a few years ago that we just didn't think that people of Ventnor would be there. And Stuart, to his credit, said without, and I think this is manifest here, without stating explicitly how to do it, he did indicate that there were ways of talking to Sean and to Jeff to alleviate that problem, and I think that's proven by what they've done in the short term, although as Clark and Jason have both said, it's certainly not a long-term solution, but it's still something good that our people here in Ventnor will appreciate.
I'd like to say I think it's brilliant. Some great work's been done here. Because creating that 2-year gap for all the other things other than just doing the haven, it could be a gap to seek funding, as Jason alluded to. It's certainly a gap to at least form a longer term plan and safeguard the town from that smell and all that.
Absolutely, David.
It's a case of well done, really.
Without blowing our own trumpet, I think it's something that really wouldn't have happened without the town council pushing forward the way we did on this matter, because we think it's absolutely crucial to the well-being of our community, for sure.
And I think as well, that 2 hours, you're right, it gives us that buffer for that. But I think also within that, we do have to extend that somewhat, and we have to have a look at the safety of the bandstand too. Within that.
That's why I never mentioned that specifically, because of the haven, but we'll look at that in the future, Jim.
I've got some figures on that for tomorrow. The only thing I can say, within these 2 years, we've got to keep pushing on hard.
Yeah, sure.
Because it soon floats away, doesn't it?
Oh, no, I think we'll.
Can't back on it.
No, I don't think that. And I think the council, to be fair, realise that we are not playing games here. You know, this is very serious. I mean, we have what has become a bit of an iconic feature of the Esplanade, and we can't be derelict in how we deal with it going forward. We wouldn't be forgetting if we were. Does anybody have anything further to add on that? Thank you very much. So I can take it that the recommendation would be supported. Members, thank you very much. We've gone to the Ventnor Warning Borough, which is short and sweet. Do you want to say anything, David? It's just the fact that it's the purpose of the report is to inform members of the formal notice of the inclusion of Ventnor War Memorial in the list of buildings of special architectural or historic interest.
Yes, the only reason why I provided a recommendation here is because we previously discussed the fact that ownership is still unclear, and I think that this is the time to register that, because it may be a matter of dispute in the future. If anybody demands that it gets replaced or substantially restored or needs propping up, there'll be large sums of money
involved,
and I just think it's time to flag that, that's all.
I can't understand how where we are that things like ownership or something like that isn't well established.
I wonder if Councillor Fry knew anything about the background to that.
No, but it should, making a building a listed building is quite a complicated process, and it's even more complicated unlisting them, as the owners of the Central Hotel in Ventnor have discovered, because they accidentally went and listed the Central Hotel instead of the tap down below. So they knocked down the tap that was supposed to be listed, and they're stuck with that hotel.
Right.
But I thought the owners would have had to have been advised of the procedure.
Well, they just shoved it in a drawer and forgot about it.
Well, it's something else along with the bandstand. I mean, which someone walked around out of it because it was seemed to be trying to wash their hands off, but somebody must own it. France might own it, I don't know.
One of your previous town councils in 2008 destroyed a listed building without permission.
Indeed,
the old clock tower.
That's right,
yes, absolutely.
And got away with it. So
yes. Well, those things move in mysterious ways, don't they?
So we do acknowledge receipt of the notice, and we will remind the White Council of the lack of any evidence at this time regarding the memorial's ownership. Okay, thank you very much. And to your report, Mr. Pratt.
Yes, just the last item on the agenda. The usual list of things. The new public toilets is proceeding in discussions with the potential suppliers of the work. And as you can see, we've now commissioned the work on the detailed drawings and planning permission application submission that you approved £2,500 for 2 months ago. Paddling pool is now, as you can see, closed, but will reopen for the new year. We're looking at temporary arrangements for the October half-time fortnight. Beach safety, first aid hut is again now on the same terms by and large. It's not staffed fully, but we'll look at it during the half-term fortnight depending on the weather. Item 4, the Children's Services Allotment Project was a remarkable, encouraging success on Boniface Fields. The mental health support worker, you will perhaps be aware that the Isle of Wight Council has now decided to close its day centres from the end of this month, and that includes the Monday Club that's held down here in the Green Room. The Town Council agreed to fund the continuation of the support worker, and that will come into effect from 1st of November. She's very pleased about that, understandably, and we are too. So, just to reassure members, we have established Tony McCarthy in particular, and that the worker will continue to be supported by her management, so she's not on her own. BBA, Jason and I met with the officers on the 11th of September. The usual bi-monthly meeting. We also met with the Community Association, which is always a pleasure, isn't it, Jack?
It is.
Number 8 is temporary bench. Notice from Alison and dates of the working groups. Completes the report, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions of Pratt? His report? Thank you very much.
I just don't know, why did they stop Ventnor?
Because they didn't have enough support or enough money. And they wanted they wanted a year to recover.
Yeah, they didn't want to go ahead and not deliver what they had done this in the last two. The costings of hosting the ice rink unfortunately went up by the person that where it was. So that was a major factor, and they didn't feel they had enough support going forward from businesses within the town to deliver the spectacle that they would like to this year. So take a fallow year and hopefully regroup for next year.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I think the ice rink was certainly one of the biggest determining factors there, wasn't it?
Yes.
We've talked about it for quite a while now. Makes you wonder if some of the business in the town would what their agenda is sometimes. Okay, thank you very much indeed, Mark. Any more questions from members of the public? No?